generation.
Dates in the Bible don't quite match the marriage certificate. Uh-oh.
Let's talk family history. It is Extreme Genes, America's family history show on extremegenes.com. It is Fisher here, your radio root sleuth, on the program where we shake your family tree and watch the nuts fall out. This segment is brought to you by myheritage.com. Hey, our guests today, a couple of great experts. One is Carolyn Tolman from legacytree.com, genealogist. And because it's Black History Month, she's going to share with us some of the advances that are going on in helping to move Black genealogy forward and some of the success she has had in working with some clients in determining the origins of some of their African American heritage. So this is going to be interesting stuff coming up in about 10 minutes or so. And then later on in the show, Lauren Rhodes, who's written a book about 199 cemeteries you must see before you die. Yeah, that's going to be interesting to hear how she ranked them and why she ranked them the way she did a little bit later on in the show. Hey, just a reminder, we got Roots Tech coming up here February 28th. It's a Wednesday. That's when it starts, and it goes through Saturday, March 3rd. It's going to be in Salt Lake City, Utah at the Salt Palace Convention Center. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I know we're going to be seeing a lot of you there. Make plans to see me. I'm going to be teaching a couple of classes, one on collecting your ancestors' artifacts, as well as old-fashioned research, how you actually find material if it's not on the internet. A lot of people don't know how that's done anymore. It's kind of a lost art, so just check out your schedule when you get to Roots Tech if you're going to be part of that. And, of course, one guy who's going to be a major part of that is my good friend David Allen Lambert, the chief genealogist of the New England Historic Genealogical Society and AmericanAncestors.org. Hi, David. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing great out here in Boston, enjoying the warm, well, maybe not so warm, Arctic weather we're having. And we're suffering the loss of Patriots dynasty.
Yeah, I know. That
Eagles.
hangs for a long time afterwards there, because there's a whole generation in your area that thinks that the Super Bowl is an annual event for your team. It's just kind of crazy. And we will get into that in just a moment. I do want to mention you and I are doing a meet and greet from your booth at NEHGS on Thursday morning at 11 o'clock. Thursday at 11 at Roots Tech. So this is a chance to meet a lot of the listeners and have some good conversation, and I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. I really enjoy Roots Tech, and it's a great opportunity to do selfies with us and post them on the internet.
Yeah, it should be fun. All right, let's get into our family histoire news. Where do you want to start today?
In light of the Super Bowl and to the honor of the Philadelphia Eagles, I'm going to devote this first story to the fans that really weren't even watching the Super Bowl. That goes out to, like, Dustin Slaughter, who took his grandfather's ashes and brought them to the parade, and Vinny Chev, who took his uncle's remains, and somebody who flew 1,000 miles from Tampa, Florida, to make sure their grandfather's ashes were at the parade. You know, when I was a kid, we'd go to parades and drop something on the ground, my mother would say, "Oh, it's okay, it's a 10-second rule." I'm going to really rethink that 10-second rule at parades from now on.
That's a good point, because some of these people are actually throwing the ashes along the parade route. You know what? I talked to a friend of mine. He used to be a vice president for a Major League Baseball team, and he said, "Fish, do you know that there are more ashes in Major League parks in every sport all around America than you would ever imagine?" And he said because of the connections that people have with their teams, a lot of folks will go out and keep some ashes in their pocket, and they get the opportunity to walk out on the field, and they just kind of pull it out of their pocket and drop it into the infield or the outfield.
Well, the thing I get about parades is I remember seeing street sweepers after parades, so I suppose, here, there, and everywhere, there your ancestors will go.
That's right.
One person who didn't think that their remains would probably be this popular was Cheddarman, who was a person found out near Bristol, England, a number of years back, and this was a skeleton of somebody who lived 10,000 years ago. Of course, in light of new DNA findings and all that, they've drilled a little hole into Cheddarman's head, looked at his autosomal DNA and some of the characteristics, and I know C.C. Moore has talked about this, and what they've been able to determine is that he may have been very dark skinned to black. So the earliest Britons were not Caucasian.
Interesting. All right.
Yeah. Okay, my next story actually has to do with the 2020 census coming up very shortly. They're going to ask some new questions this year, which is typical. In this one, if you're white, they will ask you what your ethnicity is.
Interesting.
German, Irish, English, Italian, whatever the case might be. But think of it, in 72 years, in 2092, when this census is released, and because we'll still be doing the show then,
right.
We'll be able to say, I remember back leaving our ethnicity down as blank. The big question that I ask here is that what is your ethnicity based upon your autosomal, by your heritage? What are you going to choose?
Interesting.
The next story, New Jersey has now changed rules, so adoptees in New Jersey can start to discover their identities, which I think is really nice, the way they've been changing.
Yeah, this has been in process now for a while, and I guess they passed a law concerning this a few years ago and gave the birth mothers and fathers the chance to actually say, no, I don't want my information made available. And now all the pre-requirements have been met, and the adoptees can get their original birth certificates. They're discovering the names of their birth parents, and it's quite an emotional time in New Jersey.
It truly is. It superseded an old ruling from 1942, which basically kept all that information secret. Well, my blogger spotlight this week is someone we've actually had on the show before, Melissa Barker from Tennessee, and her blog is A Genealogist in the Archives.blogspot.com. And her most recent blog is about preserving old family letters and postcards. And it makes me want to leave a postcard from Roots Tech. Not a virtual one, but one with a stamp on it that you write on. More and more you don't see postcards, but how valuable of a time capsule they are. Well, that's about all I have for this week for news from Beantown. But I do want to say that if you are a member of NEHGS, like Carol Ackerman, I want to appreciate you listening to the show. She gave us a shout-out on an email that she loves the show. And if you're not an NEHGS member and you're considering it, you can save $20 on membership by using the checkout code EXTREME. See you real soon at Roots Tech, and I hope that some of our listeners will come and join us.
All right. I hope so, too. Thanks so much, David. We'll talk to you again next week. And coming up next, Black History Month in progress. What's happening as far as progress with Black history and Black family history? Carolyn Tolman from LegacyTree.com, genealogist, has the latest on that coming up next in 3 minutes on Extreme Genes, America's Family History Show. Hey, Genies, it's Fisher, and whether you're new to family history, a seasoned pro, or you've simply missed the event in years past, now's your chance to connect at Roots Tech. It's the world's largest family history conference. Now, you can join everybody for 4 days of discovery and make connections to your past, enjoy world-class entertainment, interactive booths, and hundreds of hands-on classes. Listen to celebrity speakers like former Olympic gold medalist Scott Hamilton and Brandon Stanton, the founder of the Humans of New York photo blog, and Henry Louis Gates Jr., host of the hit PBS show Finding Your Roots. Purchase your 4-day Roots Tech pass today and save over $80 on a regularly priced pass. Learn the latest about DNA, explore recently released record sets, and interact with exciting technology. You can join the excitement and the fun. Discover your family. Discover yourself. Discover Roots Tech. Roots Tech 2018, February 28th through March 3rd at the Salt Palace in Salt Lake City, Utah. Register at rootstech.org.
Extreme Genes is sponsored in part by 23andme.com, a personalized genetic service that helps you understand what your 23 pairs of chromosomes, your DNA, say about you. 23andme.com gives you a snapshot view of your DNA with more than 60 detailed reports on your health, traits, and ancestry, plus tools to explore and compare your DNA with family and friends. 23andme.com is the first and only genetic service available directly to you that includes reports that meet FDA standards. Here's how it works. Order your DNA kit from 23andme.com. Provide your saliva sample from home and mail it back to a CLIA-certified lab. Then you'll be notified when your reports are ready online. You'll also receive ongoing reports as new genetic discoveries are made and as 23andme.com is able to clear new reports through the FDA. See why more than 1 million people are experiencing their genetics with 23andme.com. Order your DNA kit today at 23andme.com. extremegenes.com.
Hi, Genies. It's Scott Fisher, host of Extreme Genes, with an invitation for you to join our brand spanking new Extreme Genes Patrons Club. Now, the Extreme Genes Patrons Club is where, for as little as $1 a month, Genies everywhere can take advantage of Extreme Genes rewards, such as early access to our latest podcasts, members-only bonus podcasts, acknowledgement on extremegenes.com, and special monthly live online question and answer sessions with well-known family history experts. Catch visits with genealogy stars such as David Allen Lambert, photo detective Maureen Taylor, DNA expert CeCe Moore, and many other experts and storytellers. If you find yourself craving more stories, more ideas for digging up your dead, more inspiration, the Extreme Genes Patrons Club is for you. The rewards start at just $1 a month. Find out more now. Just go to extremegenes.com and click on our special Extreme Genes Patrons Club link at the top right. Or go to patreon.com/extremegenes. And welcome back to Extreme Genes, America's Family History Show, and extremegenes.com. It is Fisher here, your radio root sleuth, and this segment is brought to you by 23andme.com DNA. And, of course, it is Black History Month in the United States. And recently we had CeCe Moore, the genetic genealogist, come on the show talking about DNA and how it is really making some headway in helping African-American researchers find out what specific country in Africa their ancestors may have come from. And so that's exciting news, and I thought we'd get our good friend Carolyn Tolman on the line as well from Legacy Tree, talking about some of her recent research, some of the breakthroughs that people are having in their African-American research. Welcome back to Extreme Genes, Carolyn. Good to have you.
Thank you, Scott. It's good to be here.
Boy, this is always good news. You know, for the last 5 years since we've done Extreme Genes, we've always heard about the big roadblock in the 1870 census as an African-American researcher would work backwards because, of course, that was the first year of the census after the Civil War. And before that, you get into the slave families and things are very, very difficult. So very few African-Americans can trace much before that. But things are starting to happen.
Yes, that's right. They're making more and more records available, more accessible online, and DNA is making a huge advance in being able to identify relatives who may know more about their ancestors than your family has told you. And so with all of this, more and more people are able to trace just a little farther back on their lines.
Isn't that
and
exciting?
I think it'll keep going.
Yeah,
it is.
I hope so. From what CeCe was saying, a lot of African-American people now are doing DNA, and they're getting lots and lots of matches, which is great because it creates that collaboration that really hasn't been possible to this point. And then you add to that, the companies, I think, are getting better and better information about where to match up in Africa with specific countries.
Yes, I know a lot of the DNA testing companies are hoping to expand to Africans whose families have never left the country, and that will be really key to helping those who are in the United States and other countries to identify the source population that their ancestors came from. So it's just a snowballing effect, and it's just going to get better and better.
You know, it's interesting you say that. That kind of reminds me of back in the 90s when DNA first started, and the testing companies or the testing organizations at that time actually had to go out to certain populations and ask them to test. They were gathering all these samples so they could make the connections to these certain areas. And it sounds like it's kind of a similar situation with Africa right now. It's not that a lot of Africans are testing, but that the companies themselves are actually requesting that the Africans test and providing them with what they need to do it.
Yes, they're making it easier and more accessible, helping them to understand exactly what can be done if they go ahead with it. I think that's the big hurdle. Many people don't understand how it could possibly help because we can't test our ancestors' DNA. But when you explain to them that, no, it's just testing your DNA, and then when you match, finding out what you know about your ancestors that maybe your match doesn't know about theirs. So once people understand that more, they're more willing to get involved and be a part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, let's talk about some of the record sets that are available now that were not available just a few years ago. And one of them, of course, is the Freedmen Bureau records. Talk about that a little bit, Carolyn, because they're pretty exciting.
Yes, that was the government's effort during Reconstruction to help these newly freed people to establish bank accounts and get insurance, and so they were required to come in and fill out forms and tell them everything they knew about their family. So we have these written records where there were none before, where they're explaining what they understand and what they remember about their family. So they're amazingly valuable, and maybe after that time they went on and maybe things changed and maybe they forgot, and so those written records are a wonderful anchor in time right after emancipation that I think fill a missing link for these families, especially when they had been scattered, sold to different plantations, taken across state lines. This is a way to start gathering them back. And maybe if they didn't know how to write, well, then the person in the office could write for them as they spoke.
Sure.
So incredibly valuable records.
Right, and they've only been completely digitized here in the last few years. And to me, it's kind of like this. It's almost as if all of them suddenly had a family Bible record that they created. And that's what they're similar to in my mind. Would you agree?
I would agree. Absolutely.
Could you imagine if everybody had a record like that from that time? It would be pretty special. But now they're online. They're available for everybody. And that can lead to other records like plantation records. And I don't have any experience at all with that, Carolyn. Have you dealt with those?
Yes. I know that the universities such as University of Mississippi or University of Louisiana, they have these collections of plantation records that are more accessible now. And if you can find out where your ancestors were, where they were working, the plantations they were on, where they were from, you can get into these records. There's a greater likelihood you can find them named in the records. A lot of the county records, probate and land, may not have named the slaves. They might have just been listed as a male or a female and a certain age. That's certainly how the slave censuses were, and that makes it more difficult. But if you can get into the plantation records, you can find more detail, more of an accounting of where they were sold to or where they were bought from, and you can make progress.
Yeah, follow that journey.
Yes. You'd hope there were good records kept for your particular plantation.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk about one of the cases that you've dealt with recently in African American research. I know you've had some good fortune, and it's always great to hear those people breaking through that barrier that comes with the 1870 census. Yes.
We were able to trace our client's ancestors back to the 1870 census. He had a very unique name, Simon Cooper, and there was a white family nearby with the same surname. And we then went into the land and property records of that family and found that unique name, Simon, and his mother, Rebecca. And then with that name, we were able to find other of her children. May or may not have come from the same father, but they were connected to her. And we were able to trace her back to about 1840.
Wow.
So
now, how did you do that?
We went back in the land records and found mention of her name. We would recognize her age, and back in time, she was younger. And we were just really fortunate that her and her children and her family were mentioned in the records. It was a case where we were lucky that those details were mentioned. That's not always the case, but you have to be able to check and do a thorough search in case they were.
Yeah. Well, when you think about all the things that are kind of coming together, it's almost like a congealing effect here, right? Because you've got all the DNA that is being gathered now among the African American community and people making those connections. And like you say, maybe somebody knows something that you don't, or a piece of information went down one branch that didn't go down another. Now you got the plantation records. Are they being digitized, by the way? We didn't talk about that.
I believe they are. I don't know specifically, but I think that's the direction that most archives are moving in. So the better funded they are, the more likely it is. Sometimes a small historical society doesn't have the funding or the manpower to do it, but these universities probably do have the technology, and I can see that happening as time goes on.
Now, is it general to expect that plantation records are being held in universities now, or are they actually still in the hands of some of the people who inherited them basically from their families from 150 years ago?
Well, that's certainly possible. So after checking the university, you would want to check with the local historical society. They tend to have more specific knowledge of the families that have been there, or the families that were historically there, and they may be able to point you in the right direction. You also have just the wonderful power of the internet, social networking, being able to network with other descendants, other cousins who might know those things, who might know who has those records.
Yeah, there are a lot of people who are expert at that online that you can find in that way. That's a great suggestion. The Freedmen Bureau records, of course, were digitized completely and actually presented to the public for use, about a year or two ago now at this point?
Yeah, very recently. And with the help of so many people, so many indexers, probably a lot of African-American people were very motivated to help with indexing that collection. It's a wonderful gift to the community. We've made a lot of progress thanks to all of their work.
Well, it is Black History Month, and I think this gives you an idea of how you can make February Black Family History Month as well, using DNA, using the Freedmen Bureau records, using the plantation records, and of course all the standard sets such as the census records going back to 1870. But you know what I love about this, Carolyn, is just you're hearing more and more success all the time. It just breaks everybody's heart to hear that you can't get back any further than typically maybe a second great-grandparent. It's very difficult, isn't it?
It is. It is very difficult. But what is available, what has survived, is becoming more available and digitized and out there. So we're very grateful for that.
And I'm looking forward to next year and hearing what we've got going at that time, because it seems like there's always something new that's coming along that's just making it better and better. And we've had some great interviews on this show with African-American researchers who have had some tremendous success that they never expected, having huge family reunions and writing books. And it's just a great thing to hear. Carolyn, thanks so much for coming on, and we look forward to chatting with you again.
Thank you so much, Scott. I look forward to it, too.
And coming up next, Lauren Rhodes, an author who wants you to visit 199 cemeteries before you die. Coming up in 5 minutes on Extreme Genes.
Scientific studies have proven that youth who know even a little bit about their family history perform better academically and have a greater sense of personal confidence and stability. Genealogy is its own incredible superpower that arms our children with super strength. But how do you get your child or grandchild interested in studying their family history? That kind of stuff is just for grandmas, right? Not anymore. ZapTheGrandmaGap.com leaps the generation gap in a single bound. Author Janet Havorka provides you with useful and timely advice on helping the young people in your life become engaged in their own family history. Janet has an entire collection of books to inspire the young and the young at heart in fun, interactive ways. She also offers creative tips and advice on her blog and in her free weekly newsletter. Stop by ZapTheGrandmaGap.com today to sign up for Janet's free email newsletter with 52 weeks of easy tips, free downloads, and order your set of resource books and workbooks. Looking for an easy way to show off your family history and share it with your family? Family Chartmasters offers beautiful custom pedigree art pieces and inexpensive family reunion draft charts in any design or size that fits your needs. With a free consultation at FamilyChartmasters.com, you can get started creating a new family masterpiece. Family Chartmasters has over 11 years of experience in creating and printing family charts. They can print any style of genealogy chart from any genealogy file and can create exactly what you're looking for. You'll work with a specialized and talented consultant whose goal is to make you happy. Decorative charts make fantastic gifts for all occasions. And with Family Chartmasters' option of ordering duplicate charts at half price along with your original purchase at full price, you can afford to give a family heirloom to each member of your family. Contact Family Chartmasters today at FamilyChartmasters.com for your free consultation. Family Chartmasters will give the greatest care to your family history.
We are back. It is America's Family History Show, Extreme Genes and ExtremeGenes.com. Fisher here, your radio root sleuth, and this segment is brought to you by FamilySearch.org. My next guest is in San Francisco. She's written a whole bunch of books over the years, and her 11th book kind of strikes me as something that we genies need to hear about. It's called 199 Cemeteries to See Before You Die, because really you can't see them too well after you die. Lauren Rhodes, welcome to Extreme Genes.
Thank you for having me.
This is a real treat. How many of these 199 cemeteries have you seen?
About a third of them.
And why is it that you're able to write about them when you haven't even seen them yet?
Well, there's so many resources online these days. So many people traveling and blogging about it that I got to discover all kinds of really interesting things that I didn't know about. And Pinterest is huge. There are so many cemetery people on Pinterest pinning these gorgeous photos. And so that was a rabbit hole I went down.
Well, and I think it's really true. I mean, cemeteries are some of the most beautiful places you could go to in the world, right? Compare them, say, to certain parks that you might go to. I mean, they are just such peaceful places if they're well maintained and if they're in certain locations. Even urban cemeteries can be absolutely amazing.
Exactly. You know that cemeteries are the reason we have urban parks now, right? That the park movement grew out of Mount Auburn Cemetery in Boston.
Is that right? I did not know that.
Yeah. There was a while that the Greenwood Cemetery in Brooklyn was the biggest tourist attraction in the U.S., bigger than Niagara Falls. More people went to Greenwood Cemetery.
I've been there.
It's so beautiful.
It is. Actually, all of the Brooklyn cemeteries are amazing places. Evergreens is an excellent place to go. And what's so amazing about it is here you are really in a borough of New York City, and you got these beautiful trees, and it's very quiet, and you can look between the monuments there and see the RCA building in Manhattan right behind it. I mean, I've got some amazing pictures from some of these places, and that's what makes it so fascinating. What got you started in all this?
I fell in love with the sculpture. That was kind of my entry to it. I ended up by accident in London and picked up a book in one of the train stations of these cemetery photos, which led me to Highgate, which was a very well-maintained Victorian cemetery. Charles Dickens' family is buried there. So, you know, it was kind of an artsy cemetery that fell into disrepair after the Second World War, very badly vandalized, until a group of Friends of the Cemetery took it over. And it's open now for tours. It's started to be used again as a cemetery, and they're doing repair work. But part of the cemetery they've left as kind of a managed woodland. So it's full of foxes and squirrels and rabbits and all kinds of things. And these beautiful Victorian graves crumbling in what's basically a jungle.
Isn't that amazing?
Absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah. And what's fun, too, is sometimes is to run across some of the famous people that are buried in some of these larger ones. And I've seen some that look like some kind of Greek architecture. And you wonder, wow, who has that? What did they do?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, you know, my dad was in the Cleveland Clinic a couple of years ago, and in their gift shop, they had a guide to the cemetery in Cleveland. So I went down there one day to poke around, and James Garfield is buried in this spectacular tomb. Beyond knowing that he was a president, I didn't know much about him, but he was assassinated in office.
Yes, in 1881. It's interesting because I was actually able to pick up a little dish, and it says, in memory our nation mourns, and it's got his image on it from 1881, and I just have it in my office. I have no idea why I was attracted to it, but it wasn't that expensive. But I think that the nation at that time made a lot of things in memorial to the president as a result of that. I think any assassinated president, it's that kind of situation, and that's probably why he has a grave like that at that cemetery.
It's amazing, and it's, up on top of a hill with a view of the lake, and one of the Rockefellers is buried nearby with a giant obelisk. It's really a spectacular place, and it was exactly what I needed that day. I'd been worried about my dad, but to go for an hour and kick through the autumn leaves and just absorb some peace was exactly what I needed. I could come back and take care of my dad again after that.
So tell me how you chose the 199 cemeteries we need to see before we die.
Well, I started with things that I'd been to that I feel really strongly that people should see, and then extrapolated from that. I got on Facebook and asked people, what's your favorite cemetery, and tried to fill in some of my gaps. And then I went to Pinterest, I looked on there, it's one of those projects that the more I talk to people about it, the more people that I wouldn't have expected had suggestions. So I wanted it to be as global as possible, which means that I needed to include places that I hadn't been, like the Holy Land, that I'd like to go to, but haven't had an opportunity yet. I've been lucky enough to go to Singapore and Japan and do cemeteries there, but there's so many more places to go.
Did you see big differences from country to country in how their cemeteries are laid out, or just the feel that they have?
Yeah, that's a good question. In Japan, land is so precious that their cemeteries tend to be very small, but families are buried there for generation after generation because they're cremated. So there'll be a family monument with a reservoir underneath it where they'll place the urns. So they'll have big bamboo blades. I can't remember what they're called in Japanese, but the after-death name is written there in Buddhist tradition. And as long as that blade stands, the spirit is lingering. And then after it eventually will fall to pieces, and then they burn what's left of the wood, the spirit's released to be reincarnated, which I thought was fascinating.
Wow.
I've never seen anything like that.
No, that's incredible. And I'm looking at this, I'm thinking, why 199? Why not a nice round number? You fell short. It's just deadlines, or how did that work, Lauren?
No. People have been teasing me that the 200th one is where you stop.
Ah, I see.
But
okay.
I can tell you that I've been to far more than 200 cemeteries. So
I'm
either
sure.
I'm immortal or...
Well, she's Lauren Rhodes. She's the author of the book, 199 Cemeteries to See Before You Die. And you can get it on Amazon. You can get it at Barnes & Noble. It was the October pick from Barnes & Noble. How cool is that?
Yeah, that was really excellent. I'm so excited that so many people can see this and start to discover cemeteries in the area at a little piece when they travel.
Don't you think that most every area has one or two maybe, or even more, special cemeteries in their areas? And what would you say to people about kind of discovering what those things are about?
You know, people drive past the cemeteries all the time and they never think to stop in. You know, people feel strange about it, or like they're intruding, but they're public places for the most part. You're welcome to come if you behave yourself, and you'd just be amazed at what you discover. You know, the gardening can be really lovely. I like to listen to the birds, smell the flowers, walk around. For me, it's sculpture, but, I've learned so much just about local places where, you find the names of the streets on the headstones. Mm-hmm. And it gives you a sense these were real people at one point that we've kind of forgotten.
Yeah, that's right. It's just what's left there. And typically the ones that I like the most are on hillsides. They're either up on a hillside behind a church or on a hillside overlooking a beautiful valley or a city. You would think that that would be more valuable property that they wouldn't turn into a cemetery, but often they put the cemetery there because it was so out of the way when a city was being organized, right?
Right. Well, there's one right downtown in Detroit. It's practically, you could stand there and see the Renaissance Center. So this must have been prime real estate in the 20s when the auto industry was booming. One of the Revolutionary War battles was fought in this cemetery.
Well, this sounds like a great book, and I'm excited to check it out, Lauren. Lauren Rhodes is the author, Rhoads. She lives in San Francisco. She's the author of 199 Cemeteries to See Before You Die. And I look forward to seeing what you're highlighting there, Lauren. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you so much.
And coming up next, we talk preservation with Tom Perry from TMC Place in 3 minutes on Extreme Genes, America's Family History Show. Well, Genies, my personal family history researcher who sends me new information day and night has sent me some incredible new records and newspaper stories lately. Hi, it's Fisher, and the name of that researcher, by the way, is myheritage.com. It's the hardest working service in genealogy, looking for records of your family 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Yes, even while you're sleeping. How does it work? MyHeritage uses hundreds of algorithms to match your ancestors to over 5 billion records from around the world. world, and with 97% accuracy. That means no more wasting time figuring out whether or not a match really is a match. I hear from listeners all the time who are shocked with how much information is accurately found and then passed along. And now MyHeritage will translate your ancestors' names into English or any other language you like from foreign records. In fact, it works with over 40 languages. No one else does this. Whether you're a beginner or seasoned researcher, you need MyHeritage.com.
Extreme Genes is sponsored in part by 23andme.com, a personalized genetic service that helps you understand what your 23 pairs of chromosomes, your DNA, say about you. 23andme.com gives you a snapshot view of your DNA with more than 60 detailed reports on your health, traits, and ancestry, plus tools to explore and compare your DNA with family and friends. 23andme.com is the first and only genetic service available directly to you that includes reports that meet FDA standards. Here's how it works. Order your DNA kit from 23andme.com. Provide your saliva sample from home and mail it back to a CLIA-certified lab. Then you'll be notified when your reports are ready online. You'll also receive ongoing reports as new genetic discoveries are made and as 23andme.com is able to clear new reports through the FDA. See why more than 1 million people are experiencing their genetics with 23andme.com. Order your DNA kit today at 23andme.com.
Legacy Tree Genealogist is a proud sponsor of Extreme Genes. Based in Salt Lake City, Utah, near the world's largest family history library, we've been working with genealogists all over the globe since 2004 to track down records, find your ancestors, and the stories that bring your legacy to life. We also analyze DNA test results, help you join lineage societies, and find missing cousins or heirs to property. Legacy Tree is the recommended research partner of MyHeritage.com and is the world's highest client-rated genealogy firm. Call us toll-free at 1-800-818-1476. Call now or register online to get a free estimate. Learn from our free genealogy tips on our blog at legacytree.com/blog. Even experienced researchers can benefit from our proven and experienced staff of specialists who can bring new approaches to old problems. Legacy Tree Genealogists. We do the research. You enjoy the discoveries. legacytree.com.
It is preservation time at Extreme Genes, America's Family History Show, and extremegenes.com. It is Fisher here, your radio root sleuth. Tom Perry is on board. He is from tmcplace.com, our preservation authority. Hi, Tom. How are you?
Really excited to be here today and excited for Roots Tech coming up because we are going to be making a major announcement of our first international facility where we're going to do audio, video, film, transfers, and duplications.
Wow. How fun is that? That's awesome.
It's going to be great. It's great for my Delta frequent flyer miles. It's going to be awesome.
All right. We got a lot of emails and appreciate all the questions. Really great questions. This is from Nikki Walthouse, and she said, I have a cassette tape made in the late 60s, early 70s of my great-grandmother and her sister speaking about their lives, and the quality is so-so. And at one point they say something like, I remember being at a dedication event in 1893, and then the tape sounds like it's warped after that, and you can hear sounds and no more voices. Is there anything that could restore that portion of the tape? Because it was the best part. Thanks, Nikki.
It looks like Nikki's one of those Murphy's Law people that have the best parts turn out bad.
Yeah.
What we have to do first, no matter what, we have to digitize everything. And once it gets digitized, we use a program called Pro Tools. We can do it for you or show you how to do it. And we can go in and pull out different sounds, and we can find out if, yes, somebody's talking and it's garbled, and we can change speeds, change amplitudes, do all kinds of fun things to try and pull it out. Or find out if it's just blank and Aunt Martha threw her hat on top of the microphone or something. There's all different things that can happen. But that's the thing. We need a digitizer first, which we'll do, and then we can figure out, okay, where can we go from here, or this is how you can do it yourself.
So it's not always hopeless when you run into a situation like this, and it's good to ask.
Oh, absolutely. We have people that have taken audio tapes and videotapes especially to the big box retailers, and they go, oh, your tape's no good. And then they find out somebody that has been to one of our facilities or another place that does pro services, and they pop it in, and it works. because they have better equipment than
Sure.
these big box stores. So never, ever give up hope. It's always worth checking into.
All right, here's another one. This is from Dawn, and she said, I've taken home movies from Super 8 to VCR to DVD. I did the VCR to DVD transfer myself, and I know I got the cheapest DVDs at Staples that I could get. My question is how do I know it is archival quality? Can I get that quality at my Staples store, or should I get them somewhere else?
Very easy to answer. No, they are not archival quality.
Right.
They're not. That's just the easiest way. A lot of people put stickers on them, say they are. If they say they are, they still may not be. If they don't say they are, I can guarantee they're not. You always want to use what we call a tile Uden disc, which you can purchase from us. You can buy them online. Just make sure if you buy them online, you go to somebody that you know has like 5 stars on their account, so you know they've been around for a while. Because there's a lot of people out there that package discs and say they're tile Uden, they're really not. So you want to make sure you get them from somebody that you know for sure has 5 stars. People have said they're really, really good because they don't have the serial numbers on them anymore, so you can't be sure. So buy them from somebody that has 5 stars at least, or call us and we're happy to ship them anywhere in the world.
Wow. And you do have great discs, and they never fail. And so if she's got this disc now, it's not necessarily gone because it's not archival, but she should still be able to transfer it directly from that disc, wouldn't you think?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, she doesn't even have to actually transfer it. She can do what's called a duplication. Either come to us or somebody in your area that you know is a true duplicator. They don't use computers to go from disc to disc. They actually use a tower that is made for duplicating, because what it does is it rewrites the zeros and the ones exactly as they are. So there's no architecture that's coming from a PC or a Mac that can inhibit some of the transfers. So what you want to do is take all these discs, get tile Uden discs, go to your neighborhood duplicator, and have them just duplicated onto the tile Uden discs, and then you've got those as backups. And then when the other ones failed, you can pull out your tile Udens. But always, I tell people anyway, you want to go ahead and listen to or play your tile Uden discs just to make sure that the duplication was done properly before you put them away and assume everything's all right.
All right. Great answer. Great questions. We got more preservation questions coming up next when we return in 3 minutes on Extreme Genes, America's Family History Show.
Looking for an easy way to show off your family history and share it with your family? Family Chart Masters offers beautiful custom pedigree art pieces and inexpensive family reunion draft charts in any design or size that fits your needs. With a free consultation at FamilyChartMasters.com, you can get started creating a new family masterpiece. Family Chart Masters has over 11 years of experience in creating and printing family charts. They can print any style genealogy chart from any genealogy file and can create exactly what you're looking for. You'll work with a specialized and talented consultant whose goal is to make you happy. Decorative charts make fantastic gifts for all occasions. And with Family Chart Masters' option of ordering duplicate charts at half price along with your original purchase at full price, you can afford to give a family heirloom to each member of your family. Contact Family Chart Masters today at FamilyChartMasters.com for your free consultation. Family Chart Masters will give the greatest care to your family history.
When was the last time you heard your grandmother's voice or saw your family enjoying life back in the 1950s or 60s? If the reason is you haven't known what to do with your old recordings, videos, and films, here's your answer. The Multimedia Center in Salt Lake City.
We brought in a video project to the Multimedia Center, and overnight they duplicated it to DVD so we could meet our deadline.
The Multimedia Center, 2870 East, 3300 South, Salt Lake City. Open Monday through Friday, 10 to 6. Call 801-483-1717 or go to transferduplication.com.
Genies, it's Fisher with exciting news. The Weekly Genie, the official newsletter of Extreme Genes, is here. It's your Monday morning briefing on what's happening in the world of genealogy and family history and on Extreme Genes. Get all the details of jaw-dropping stories of discovery and keep up with the latest techniques in family history research. Get to know more about your favorite Extreme Genes personalities, and it's free. Sign up for the Weekly Genie now at extremegenes.com or the Extreme Genes Facebook page. And when you do, you'll receive David Allen Lambert's top 10 tips for beginning genealogists from the chief genealogist of the New England Historic Genealogical Society. Sign up today for the Weekly Genie. All right, right, we're back. It's our final segment of Extreme Genes for this week, America's Family History Show. It is Fisher here, your radio root sleuth, with Tom Perry from tmcplace.com. And this segment is brought to you by legacytree.com. Boy, I can't believe how we've been swamped with all these questions here. And if you want to ask Tom a question, by the way, about preservation, you can do so at asktom@tmcplace.com, or you can actually tweet him a question at AskTomP.
Exactly. And in fact, it's funny. I just got a tweet while we were at the break from somebody asking a question.
All right. This is from Paul McGill, and he says, Tom, I've recently discovered 2 rolls of what appears to be shot 8mm film used in a Brownie movie camera. And he said, I have no idea what it is or the complete condition of the reel. The film is still on the reels and has not been messed with. My question is basically twofold. Checking the film for restorability is separate from transfer to DVD, correct? And 2, if the film as a whole is not salvageable, can still shots be made from good segments of the film?
That's a really good question, because we've had a lot of people that have come in from after Hurricane Katrina, after the mudslides in California. All these different things have damaged the film, some of it irreplaceable. So what we've had to do is go through, and there's maybe 1 foot, 2 foot, maybe even 3 feet of film that does have some kind of an image on it. And so we can digitize those, and it's not really worth making a movie out of because it just doesn't follow a pattern. Since we're scanning it, we can do JPEGs of it just like we did for you, so at least you can make prints from those sections of that film. So I would definitely recommend doing that. And make sure that your film has actually been developed, because a lot of times people say, oh, I've got these 25-foot rolls. Well, if you have 25-foot rolls, I guarantee they haven't been developed, because they called them a double roll. You ran them through your camera, Brownie or whatever kind you had, flipped them over and ran them again. Then when you send them in for developing, they developed it and then split it into 2 25-foot rolls, combine it together on 1 50-foot roll, which are usually those little 3-inchers. And so once you have those, then we can go and transfer it. If you had this done before on VHS, you need to just set that VHS aside and get it to us or somebody else that does true digitization, because you will not believe the difference. I mean, it is incredible.
Well, you did it for me once, and just a year or 2 later, there were new processes out. You did it again, and it was night and day.
Oh, absolutely. See, a lot of people tell us when they call or stop in or send us emails, they go, hey, this film is so old, there's no reason to do it in high definition. Hey, wait, just a minute. Anytime you're talking about optical, like film, negative, slides, anything that's optical, it can be enhanced by whatever kind of a product you're scanning it or shooting it with, whereas magnetic, which is like VHS tape and audio tapes, are pretty much what they are. But film can always be enhanced. I don't care how bad it is, how old it is. It's absolutely incredible what we can do with digitization on film, anything that's optical.
All right. That's a great question, Paul, and I hope that helps you out. By the way, he asked also, checking the film for restorability, is that separate from transfer to DVD?
Well, absolutely, but not, because it depends what needs to be done. If we're just scanning it for the photos, there's really not a whole lot you do right there, depending on how the film is. But then you get a program like DaVinci, which you can get for free, and you can do all kinds of color correction, or we can do the color correction. That's another thing that's not hard to do with Photoshop and other programs. As long as you have the time to do it, you can do it yourself and save a lot of money, but we're happy to help you in any way we can.
All right. Great stuff, Tom. Thanks so much. Thank you, Paul, for the question. And if you have a question for Tom, once again, you can email him at asktom@tmcplace.com or tweet him at AskTomP. See you next week, bud.
My pleasure.
Hey, that's our show for this week. Hope you got a lot out of it. I sure did. And we're looking forward to seeing you soon, coming up in Salt Lake City, Utah at the Salt Palace Convention Center for the Roots Tech Convention this year, February 28th and March 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. In fact, Tom and I are going to be demonstrating the recording of an Edison wax cylinder. That'll be on Friday the 2nd. A lot of fun. Hope you'll be part of that. Don't forget to sign up for our free weekly Genie newsletter. You can find the link to do that at extremegenes.com, and also sign up for our Patrons Club. You can support the show and get all kinds of great bonuses. Hey, talk to you again next week. Thanks for joining us. And remember, as far as everyone knows, we're a nice, normal family.